Yeah, sure. Hello, good morning. Let me just don't have to bend over all the time. Okay. So today I'm going to talk about how I made this image. Hope it's not going to be too boring. So yeah, and well, I'm gonna guide. Sorry, excuse me. I still have to kind of. All right. Okay. Well, okay, I want to show you how I made this image. And basically, most of this stuff has been done over the course of a week or so. It was a little job that I had, a freelance job that I had to finish this image for a magazine cover. It was for 3D World. They wanted to have a special open source magazine cover, which kind of had some entity kind of thinking, doing whatever, and well, I kind of prepared this, and I asked for input of them, and then 2 days before the deadline, they just said, "Oh well, we don't like it. We'd like you to do something else." And so I kind of ended up doing another picture for that just in 2 days. So this one I just finished off afterwards. So this is not really the final magazine cover, but it turned out to be a nice image anyway. So yeah, okay, that's what I'm going to show you. So well, just this morning I discovered that I actually posted this image at this forum called yeah, Blender Artists, and I noticed that there are so many questions I didn't answer. Sorry, I didn't have time for that. But all these people were like getting mad at me for not answering that question. So maybe I can answer some of them right now in this. I think we have half an hour left or so. So yeah. Well, and of course, if you have any questions, just stop me, or I can answer them right away. Yeah, well, as I started for this image, I just made a little quick sketch. I don't have it here right now. You might just not want to see it anyway. It's really crappy. So next step I did was I went straight into Blender, and I just had that little printed out sketch next to me, and I was modeling that character. And here you can see the finished character. It's basically just a mesh, lights, and some models, and the camera. You can see, as you can see, I flipped the image after I did the render, just to, well, I kind of thought it was looking too weird in this way, so that's why I flipped it. So, well, obviously, as you can see, this is the final finished model. The way I started with it was kind of like that. Of course, Blender has this great function called Add Mesh Plane. That's how I start most of my models. It's really cool. And after that, I just sorry, I'm kind of still not awake quite. So. Where are we? Okay. No, there's nothing. I'll just open it again. Ah, the keyboard is stuck. That's fine. So that's how I started. Let me just go into front view. Yes. And the way I modeled, it's not like straight ahead box modeling, like for example Rui Campos demonstrated to you. I just start with some polys and I just extrude or or subdivide or anything. It's basic technique called poly by poly modeling, and I just use the modifier stack. Of course, I use the mirror modifier and the subsurface modifier, and from that I just try to find a focus point in my sketch. And the one I chose for this was the mouth. So I started with modeling the mouth first, and I just kind of outlined the shape for it, and from that I just extruded, whatever, and I kind of, I'm using the proportional vertex editing most of the time, or I'm just extruding, merging vertices or whatever, and anyway, that's how I get to this shape. And from that I just try to finish the mouth. Next thing I did, I was adding the eyeballs, and I kind of snapped the cursor to them, and I just drew a little mesh line for the eyelids, and from that I just went on, extruded the eyes, and eyes are actually, as you can see, these are actually two focus points. So I was focusing on the mouth and the eyes, which are actually really important if you're watching an image. You're looking at the eyes first, or any prominent points, and that's actually two of the things I'm used to modeling the most. So I wouldn't really start with, for example, with the hands. I'm terrible modeling hands, as you can see later. And I just went, stupid keyboard. I just outlined the eyes, and eyes are actually pretty easy. They're just basically a loop like this, and as you can see, there's this little split up there, and it's one of the most important things to make the skin around the eyes fold in a natural way, and it's really done by just taking this loop and not finishing off this loop like you would normally do, just pressing F, and you got a continuous loop here. No, you just go extrude and connect these, and then you naturally get that fold that you'd have around the eyes. Of course, what the disadvantage of that is that you have a loop that crosses itself, so here, and you get some tries that you have to get rid of, and that's not really good. But of course, it doesn't really matter if you just have, if you get a nice result out of it. So that's how I model eyes. And from that, I just continued adding details to the mouth, like distorting the shape a bit and adding little wrinkles, and used the loop cut tool to cut some extra detail loops in there. And then this model is pretty easy. I didn't have to model a nose, so it was pretty straightforward. I just had to extrude the vertices from that point up, and then just extrude in a little hole there, and make this little crease here. It's really easy. So pretty much all the modeling for this was done in 2 days, with little coffee breaks. And so continued modeling. Oh, there are the ears. I think I kind of, at the same time, I think I started modeling the ears. That's about the outline of that ear. I just drew an outline, and then I just selected it, extruded it in, and of course you get a pretty boring shape with that, but that's a good starting point for, say, if you model all the inner loops of your ear. Ear modeling is still pretty one of the hardest thing in character modeling, so I don't really like it, and as much as I can, I just like to copy all the ears from all the models into my file, and it's really fast. And right now I have this work in progress ear that I use for all my characters, and it's really getting there right now. It's not looking that ugly, and actually has no tries at all, so I'm pretty proud of it. Anyway, for this one, it doesn't have a natural ear shape, so that's why I had to model it from scratch. So yeah, and then I just extruded the forehead. So all of these steps are really just easy because it's just selecting the edge, extruding, and just, yeah, shaping it a little bit with PET and subdividing it or whatever. And so I kind of went off with these 3 focus points, like the ear, eyes, mouth, and I kind of connected them with each other. Of course, there's tools in Blender for that, like you can connect the point, or make a face with F, or connect, whoops, yeah, I'm not awake, or connect 2 points with merge, or, oh, that's a try, whatever. And yeah, that's how it just went on. And extruded that little portion, added details here. That's just done by extruding that point in, adding a little loop cut there, connecting the points, merging 2 opposite vertices here. Like, yeah. I didn't want to take too long with that. It's just a basic thing. And yeah, and it's good to, if you model ears, it's good to have reference, even if your ears look really strange, but it gives it that kind of reality that you need if you want to make something look believable. And yeah, so from that on, I just pretty much just tweaked and extruded, and yeah, as you can see, I subdivided a bit, defined some shapes, and there's nothing really complicated happening here. It's just an extrusion back around the neck. And same here. This is kind of no, it's really simple. Sometimes it's a problem area but in this case it was really simple. And so went on and on and on. And well, there's some problems here, but I just basically moved some points, and yeah, whatever. Didn't really take that long. And then I extruded the arms and the body and everything. And as you can see, the hand is not connected. That's because I took a hand from an older model, because I kind of ran out of time, and I'm really terrible modeling hands. So I kind of squashed it into that shape, and I was screaming and whatever. And, whoa, that's the wrong layer. And as you can see, between these 2 steps, I removed the mirror modifier. So here they're both symmetrical. You can still edit one side and get the other side automatically. And then I applied the mirror modifier, and I just moved the head slightly, because I didn't want it to look that symmetrical. There's also one point that you have to where you have to make sure that your model is not symmetrical, because that will help the believability of your final image. And yeah, then I just added the light setup, and like I said in my talk on Friday, I started with the most powerful light, which should be one of these, probably. The light is pretty uniform in this scene, so there's probably not much happening. And yeah, most of these lights are spotlights, so they're really fast to render. And I rendered this in a huge resolution. It's 3000 by 3500. So that's about 1 page of 500 dpi or so. And yeah. And as you can see, all these small lights, they're there to fake the different behaviors of skin and light. And the skin shader for, the skin shader for this model is actually pretty simple. It's not a shader, it's just a straight material, and all that it's doing is, it has, oh, sorry, I don't have the textures here right now, I just have the raw XEF. And all that it does, it has a basic ramp, goes from black, slight purple, brownish, to yellow, to give it a bit of translucency, and then it has, then of course it has all these textures that you need, like normal map, color, playing around with normal again, and some procedurals to break up the shapes and get rid of the seams. I'll come to the textures in a second. And yeah, so there's no fancy stuff, it's just straight ahead, like you've done it like 3 years ago or so. There's no node setup or anything. And yeah, and I kind of added the flower because I thought, it would be nice if he was holding a flower and not thinking. Maybe that's why they didn't like that image. Anyway, okay. The way that this is textured is it's just using a basic bump, color map, and a specular map, and well, as you see, some procedurals here, and just one blend texture that is defining the outline of the shape to give it a bit of translucency, and yeah, those were just straight image textures. So I had to unwrap that model, and the cool thing now in Blender is that unwrapping is not that tough at all, like it was before the LCM boom. So, whoops, wrong layer. On Windows, this keyboard is terrible. I just have to fiddle with the function keys. No. That one, that one. Go into face mode, and go into local, and yeah. Here you can see the final unwrap for this model, and it's just basically done with the live unwrap transform mode, and I cut some seams into the model. You don't see them right now, I just have to switch them on. Yeah, like this. I cut away the arms, so this is one portion, this is one portion, and the whole torso. And as you can see, I didn't model the back because obviously you don't see it. Why should I model it? And this half and this half, and the face, as you can see, is a really important area. I gave it its own area for on the UV map, and of course the ears, because they're like sticking out of the model. And yeah, and you can see here that the face is actually bigger than the body, and that's because well, if you're watching an image, if you're looking at an image, your focus is on the face most of the time, so you want to have that extra detail in the face most of the time. So, and of course you have wrinkles and everything, so the texture map was already big enough, so I didn't want to make it bigger. It was about 5,000 pixels or so. GIMP was getting pretty sluggish. And anyway, oh yeah, that's just the arms. The arms are not really that important because, well, they were kind of out of focus anyway here in this image. And yeah, so didn't have to pay that much attention to them. And yeah, well, that's it. I just outputted that thing using the save UV face layout thing script. I'm getting awake. And yeah, I just that will just basically save it out as a texture. So. And if the arms weren't that important, why are they selling pins on them? There are so many pins on the arms because they're not important. Because I just pinned them, and then then the UV live transform doesn't pay attention to them anymore. So at some point I just thought, oh well, I just leave him like that, P, and they were pinned and I didn't pay that much attention to them. Is that clear? I'm not sure. I just pinned them because I didn't want them to move all the time. That's one thing that Matt taught me during Orange. He's a great texturer. Everything I know I learned from him. Seriously, you rule. Okay, well, that being said, I went into my favorite 2D animation, well, you can animate with GIMP. In my favorite 2D program, GIMP, like I said. It's going to take some time. This is actually the raw texture that I have for the whole body, including the specular layer, the bump layer, and the color layer. And it's about 200 megs or so it's a bit sluggish on this laptop. So just open the GIMP window here. Okay. Is it reacting at all? It should be. Oh, maybe just the mouse wheel. Yeah. Okay, here you can see the final unwrap multiplied on top of the texture that I drew. And the way I do texturing, I start with the bump map first because that's the most straightforward process. I just do the bump and then I can derive the color from that. I know where the bumps are, where the creases are and everything. So I sort of have an outline that I can use or even duplicate the layers and just color it slightly and start from that. So the bump is that I start first. And the way that you do bump maps is that you make a 50% gray ground first, because that means that there will be no bump at all. And then from that you draw in white and you draw in black to make no the exact words for that, but yeah, you know what I mean anyway. So it's kind of slow right now. It shouldn't be okay. And I mostly separate the white and the blacks. So these are the two layers for the two most important layers for the bump map. I don't know why this computer is so slow suddenly, but yeah. Anyway. And yeah, and you can see I just basically textured one side of the thing because you don't see the other side. And I could probably, if I would make an animation, I just copy it over or anything and work from that. So I don't do what the camera doesn't see because I'm really lazy. And yeah, from that I just, that is the facial paint you can see here. And yeah, I can, if you're interested, I can show you how to make all this stuff. I got my Wacom here in a second. So is that okay with you? I'm not boring? Okay. Anyway, okay, so I'll show you how to make a basic skin. Just make a new thing, make 600 by 600, should be okay. And so if we were to make a bump map, we'll just fill this with gray. Maybe it's because I plugged out my computer and plugged it in again. Okay, maybe I'll just stop GIMP and open it again. It's a dual core laptop with 1 gigabyte of memory. So something is going wrong right now. Oh, this is my favorite tool. This is my favorite tool for texturing. It's a Wacom Intuos 4 tablet. it's really useful if you don't want to draw with this a mouse, aka a bar of soap. And so I just make an image. Whoa. Turn around my mouse. Just make this 600 by 600. And I just... it would be nice to draw on this big screen. Okay, so I just take 50% gray. Fill that, and I'll just make a new layer, and that we use for black, and then I just duplicate that, and this one I use for white. So it's good to separate the two layers. So for example, if you would smudge just the black one, you don't really necessarily fill with the white one as well. There might be some cases where you don't want that. So I just take an airbrush and I start with the black one, just doing some wrinkles. I just take a round brush here, this one, make it soft, and just make some something. Add a little bit smaller ones. Oh, oops. Sorry. Let me just get... I can do this. No, I can't do this. I have to... Yeah, I know. I'm just... Maybe that's the Indian food still in my... Okay. Just draw some smaller ones and just go in between here. Wrinkles are really the most easy thing, the easiest thing in skin texturing. Right now, I think I figured out how to make wrinkles, and everything that I make looks really wrinkly. So yeah, it'll probably take a few more months till I can really texture skin. And yeah, so I'll just make it bigger and draw some, make it a bit less sharp. It's a bit too sensitive. Okay, sorry, I could be like, I always imagine that this is a palette, and I could be like, okay, there's a, maybe just, yeah, we just draw a happy little wrinkle right there. It just lives there in this own textury, wrinkly world that we are in. And maybe I just make the brush a little bit bigger. So just make it a bit slightly more irregular. It's too much now. Remember, there's no accidents. There, no mistakes. There's just happy little accidents. We just be really slight, and we just touch our tablet as we draw its wrinkles, and we can, if it's a good tablet, we can feel the skin while we're painting it. Okay, so I think that should be all right now. Now we select the white layer, And if you're drawing wrinkles, the most important thing is and it's often neglected, is the white part of the bump. Because if you're just making a straight black bump and you just go like, it will just look like clay. Because you just get like straight wrinkles right into the skin. You don't want that. You want it to behave naturally. So the way a wrinkle works, it goes like up, and then down and up and down and then to a normal level. So that's what we do with the white part. So we just switch to white and we draw some highlights in there. Just make the brush a little bit smaller. And remember that it has to look irregular. It shouldn't look too mechanic, I guess. So don't worry if you like do something wrong. Don't just hit the undo button. Maybe you just maybe it's the happy little accident. Might be just what you need. Okay, now this looks really wrinkly. We can use this straight as a bump map for our model now, and it should be all right. It's not too nice. Maybe you can just add some, But of course, there's more to skin than wrinkles. So I just add more spacing here, and I just go like this, and add more irregular things, and just go to the black layer, make the brush really small. I'll just have more rate here, more pressure. Okay, so we have some pores maybe, and I'll just switch to white again, and I'll just draw a little bit less pressure, and of course I have to switch back spacing, and just draw in what will become a vein. Okay. And of course, don't worry if it's like a bump map. It's always important not to make it too subtle, because you can always turn it down, or if you make it too strong, you can always turn it down in Blender, or you can turn it up again. But turning it up, it's a bit hard, because you might get what you don't want. Okay, so I think that's the bump, and now I just make the color from that. So this is just C, and this will act as our color base. And anything, by the way, the color the color map that we make will act as a base for our ramp shaders. The ramp shader, if it's on result, as it is mostly in my models, it will change the way the color map looks like. So you kind of have to think about, okay, what colors are in my color map, and what did I do with the ramp shader? So so I just, whoa, damn it! It looks like skin here. It looks like skin cream color here, but it's like really, ugh. That green is a bit weird. So. Wow. Looks nice on my screen. Okay, anyway. So, whoa. Okay, sorry, I'm not making this for me anyway. So, okay, from that I can just go like duplicate this, put it up there, duplicate this, put it up there, And I can sort of take the colorize tool and saturate this a bit more, make it lighter. And again, I don't worry about the naming now. Usually I have everything named perfectly, like layer.01, layer.02, cube, and everything. So now I just take the smudge brush and take one of these nice brushes. They are generously donated by Basse. I managed to copy them, snatch them from his hard drive during Project Orange, so... No, I think he gave it to you too. Right? Yeah. Might be on the Elephant Stream DVD. Yeah, those are excellent brushes. So, and Bass is really a great artist. So, yeah, they might be usable for something. Maybe I'll just take one of these. Just take the dark layer, smudge it a bit. Whoa, this looks really different here. So just go. Yeah, that will do. Wow, I wish I had a screen like that at home. All my textures would turn out really crazy. Now I want to keep, no, I don't want to keep it right now. Just do it over again. So now we got a base for that, and again we have the bright highlights separated from the blacks, which might be usable in some cases. For what it's usable, please ask me later. Then I might be awake then. So we just, I hardly see anything here on the screen. So just go slightly that direction and add more of this. And you don't want to overdo the details, because most of the time you get things like shadows, shading, and everything, and then it doesn't really matter that much if you really pay attention to every little pixel on here, because you might not see it in the final thing. And so I just draw in some on this screen my tablet moves really crazy. On this screen I don't see anything. It's kind of just turn up the spacing here again. Does it do anything? Yeah. Just add some specks here and there, like this. And just go to bright layer and add something a bit brighter. Now, one thing that is also good for skin is, like I said, you don't want to overdo the detail, because you can just let the software do it. In this case, I'd like to just add a separate layer, and I call this G, because it will be grain. Yeah, good. It's good. Yeah, it's good too. So I just add noise. Maybe not so. Whoops. Maybe not so many. Oh, no. The repeat is okay. Just do this, and I just colorize it, and just move it into the reds, and I just blur it. And then I turn down the influence to 0, and then I just turn it up slightly and see what it contributes to the final thing, because you don't want to overdo it too much. Okay, great, it looks like chicken. Okay, now you remember how I made this nice veiny looking vein there? I just remove the base of the color layer, and I can switch easily between layers too. And I just add a little bit blue to the color picker and that direction, and take an airbrush, make it no spacing, make it slightly bigger, and I just outline. Whoa, that's too much. Okay, I really wanted to make it blue. And then again, make it really slight. And I might want to add a little extra layer for that. We call it V for vein. And I just trace that. Again, if you weren't as sleepy and under the influence of Indian food like me, you would have just painted it on a separate layer on the bump map as well, and you could just have copied it over, but this will do. So now we got it here, and kind of want to take the smudge and just, whoa, that's not the smudge. Okay, and the most important thing with veins is that that of course, since it's just a little, it's just a mesh, it doesn't have any separate layers. So so if you don't do any crazy node setup or anything, which is not really what you have to do in most cases, just the texture will be okay, and well, mostly. So you just have to fake the depth of the skin, and that's what I did with this image. I'll show you the texture later, and that you see what I mean. Okay, so I just take this into the red slightly and make it less extreme. Oh. Airbrush. Less rate. And I want to make it bigger. I don't worry about that it looks too much right now, because I can still turn it down later, since I have it on a separate layer, of course. Let's go like this. And smudge it a bit. You just want to make it really slight. And then you want to give it the appearance that it's under the skin. So just paint in more details around there. I can go into the green area too. Make it green, which is not green here. Just make it a bit bigger. I have to take an airbrush. And just try to fake the fact that it's like it's coming out at certain points a bit more than in other areas. Just smudge it. And then I just take the red. And just airbrush. Make it smaller. Paint in little. Can you see anything? No. Paint in little veiny things. Still not see anything. I can't see a darn thing. Okay. And we paint in these things like all over the place. Okay, well, I think that should do. It's probably not the best. Wow. It looks good here.
Huh?
A note? Yeah, sure.
I'd just like to remind people, if you don't already know, if you look at that, it's very flat, lighting-wise, and that's what you want. You don't actually want to be painting the shading into your color map.
Yeah.
For example, you don't paint in the darkness around your eyes so much because that lighting and shading is already coming from the 3D software. Your 3D lights and the materials are going... The 3D lights and materials are going to change how the shading looks on the final image. So if you start painting in, for example, shadows around someone's eyes, and then you actually, in the 3D scene, have a light coming from below, it's going to look really weird because the shadows are all out of place. So you want to keep at least the color map free from as much lighting information as possible, apart from these cool tricks like Andy's doing with the veins there.
I got one.
Yeah.
Okay, well, great, thank you, Matt.
You're welcome.
No, thank you, I just forgot what I was about to say.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, so, well, I think that's it. I mean, most of the detail, most of the detail that we want in our skin comes from the spec map, actually, because that's what skin is. That's what you see the most. You probably see me sweating right now. So I have a really, really complicated spec map happening in my face right now. So that's also one important thing that gives you this. Sorry.
Do you ever work with normal maps at all?
If I use normal maps?
Yes.
Well, do you mean as in a sense the purpley thingy?
The RGB maps, which the color of the pixels.
Well, there's no real way to draw them really. I mean, you can easily draw a black and white bump map, and you can. There's even a tool in GIMP that you can use to convert it to a normal map. But I don't really see the benefit of that, because I think normal maps are just handy if you have say a program called a program like ZBrush, where you just export your detail into your low poly model from a normal map. That's where you might have a bit more information, but you can't really draw a normal map if you're a sane person. Yeah, I know. Okay, well, I think I can just neglect the spec map right now. I think we're a bit over time and you might be hungry, so I'll just show you the texture map for the character that I did. It will actually take some time. It's 150 megs or something with the spec layer and the bump layer and the color layer. The benefit, of course, of having all the layers in one XCF file, like the different textures in one XCF file, is that you can copy things between them easily, like I did with the vein, or you can just trace something, and of course you just need one big thing that you can edit, which might not be really that helpful if you're like in a big team and you have, say, 3 artists working on one texture and another artist like messing it all up. And okay, so now it's faster. So there's the UV layer, there's the bump again, you saw that. Again, it's just one face there. That's the point where I got away from drawing wrinkles. So it kind of was like still wrinkly, but okay, now they're round. Now I just have to draw in more dots, and okay, well, I think this will do. Okay, now this is still a wrinkly eyes, wrinkly mouth, and everything. And you can see there's not many details happening. If you have too many details in your bump map, that might, in Blender, might cause you having some anti-aliasing issues, and you need to use full OSA. If you get flickering, texture flicking, for example, we had to use full OSA and Elephant Stream a lot because of that. So this is the color base. It looks like color here. I can, no. And this is the grain layer. And this is mostly the darkening layer, all the dark colors. Well, it looks really dark here. And these are like derived from the bump map. And these are the veins, and I spent quite some time on them, like trying to get the sensation of them being under the skin. And one thing that contributes to that fact is also the spec map. Is if the spec maps looks really, really different in that area, if you don't indicate in the spec map that there is a vein at all there, you get a really nice feeling of depth. Okay, this is the bright layer. Again, I'm just smudging things and painting stuff in. That's the, yeah. Oh, and I didn't have a spec map for that one. Anyway, I think I used the bump map. That's one really, that's a cheat that Matt hates me for not making a proper spec map, a proper spec map, and using a bump map that I just turn around and invert it and blur or whatever. So if you don't have time anymore, you could use the bump map as a spec, or you just make a spec map based on the bump map. But Matt will kill you for that. He'll go home. Dad, he'll go to your home, and yeah. Anyway, okay. So I think that's enough for. I'm sorry, Matt, but he gave a lecture to me like forever for not. Nonsense. Okay. Next thing I did was I pressed F12 in Blender after more hours of screaming and late nights and everything. So I got an output from Blender that was just. Do you want to see all the post-processing stuff, or do you want to have lunch? I don't know. Are you hungry? I'm sorry. Okay, this will take a bit longer. It's just 250 megs. This is the full print resolution I painted it for, and which didn't get printed at all. I could still make prints if I had the money. I could sell them, yeah. That's a good plan. Hey, I just had this idea. Do you want to buy some prints? Okay. So, as I mentioned, I flipped the thing because I kind of thought it looked weird. And this is basically the output I got from Blender, which looks slightly worse on this screen than on my screen. And it looks even really bad on my screen at home. So, yeah, that's what I got from Blender. And it's sort of okay. I mean, yeah, it doesn't have a lot of oomph, you might say. It just looks like a strange guy with a texture on him, and there's like all these strange details that look really like plastic, and things that looks like CG. And really, the thing that I wanted to make is I wanted to give it a feeling like it was painted. Printed and reproduced as a magazine cover or whatever on some strange alien planet. So next thing I did was I added a background, and the background in this case is just a painted sky, and I just rendered out a little sphere that I used as a moon, and some cloudy things, more cloudy things, and yeah, but that wasn't really enough for me. I just wanted to do something else with the character. I wanted to give it a bit more believability. And you can see in the render, it even turned out quite nice how the veins look underneath the skin. It looks almost convincing to me. Probably could do it better next time. Oh, that's 100%. So this layer just adds a little bit more glow around it. And also here, and this one I used to add more color to the skin, because I wanted to give it some variations. Things that didn't quite turn out well in the color map went a little better in post-pro, and of course it doesn't. It saves time. You don't have to press F12, tweak the bump map, press F12, and this is a 3,000 pixel render. It takes quite some time to render. So one thing I did, I just painted over the veins here to make them even seem more like they're underneath the skin. And this layer is called micro detail, and that happens if I'm really under time pressure and I don't have time to really do a lot of things with the texture map. I just paint in more details in the final image, and that makes people go like, wow, how do you do that? You must have painted that texture for like ages. No, it's not. I'm cheating all the time. So this layer is called micro detail, and as you can see, it changes the whole thing. So there's more pores here, little white things here, and more details here, and also I selectively painted in specky points that will also increase the depth, the feeling of depth in the skin. Also, you might not want to place lights for hours that you get the specks exactly where you want it. You can just paint it in. Okay, now I just added in a bit more glow. This is basically just an outline of the thing. I think we talked about it on Friday. That is, I like to add. To flatten the whole image, do an edge detect on it, and switch the layer on screen, so it gives it a slight oil painty feeling. If you want to have some details on that, you can just bug me later. And yeah, but that's what I do basically to make it look less like CG. So another thing that I did, I added a blue glow, which just I don't know. I didn't really know how a real camera works, but this kind of seemed right to me. So this just added a bit more color depth to the final image, and then I just added in a excuse me. I just added in a rim light for the whole thing. It's really slight, but I had some alpha problems here. It probably was on the wrong setting in Blender, and I just painted in a rim and a rim glow, and I just added a slight grain on top of the image. You might not see it at first glance, but it gives it a bit of irregularity. It doesn't look like CG. Then I added green, which was intended to do to make it a bit more printy, like have it a bit, have it looking like a printed thing, and then thrown away into the garbage can, taken out, being cleaned up, and whatever. So then I just added a bit textures on top. I think I used the Elephant Stream textures. We have a huge texture database in our Elephant Stream DVD. You can just put them in your own works. I don't know, do you have to credit someone? Maybe you have to credit us, yeah. This credit goes to the Wok. Yeah. We used most of our textures were taken from Matt's Wok. He just took photos of them, and then we slapped them on the thing. So I just added a little bit of darkness around the edges. Yeah. And you can see my excellent naming system. This is pasted layer number 8. And these are the little thingies that go on the side. I just modeled them as curves in Blender, and I rendered them and imported them. It's not really anything hard. Just spent half an hour on it, I guess. And I just added more dirt on top of the image, on the bottom of the image, and some dirt on the top. Just probably just zoom out here. Okay. And this is that one. Then of course there's the text and everything. But yeah. I guess that's it. As you can see, it's not really a matter of spending a lot of time in your 3D program or whatever, trying to get it absolutely perfect. If you can just spend 5 minutes in doing it right in a 2D program, and yeah, that saves a lot of time and headaches and coffee. So, yeah, I guess that's it. If you have any questions, do you have any questions? The image the question was, what was the image that was finally accepted? That was actually, yeah. Well, it wasn't really that bad. They didn't really ask me to do, to make something from scratch. They just, they quite liked my Moonman character, and they thought, oh well, it kind of looks, yeah. Well, oh, we're desperate. Deadlines tomorrow. We'll just use it, and so, yeah. That's the character I did during Project Orange. So they liked it, and yeah, they wanted him to have to have this thinking pose. So I had to remodel him. He wasn't rigged, so I had to remodel him, UV unwrap him, redraw all the textures, re-render him. I had a weekend. Okay, it wasn't that bad. So, and I basically did all the steps that I did so far. It wasn't really that different. It was the same process. So you can still see all the painted details in here, little specks and everything. But really, I spent some time with the texture map, so it's not like this is only just post-pro. Okay, yeah, that's the thing. It's on there. It's issue number 80, I guess. It has this really big bubble called, which says free thinking on it. I think there might be still copies around. Yeah. Okay. Any questions? Otherwise, I can just have a coffee and some sandwich. You just keep me on here. Okay. Well, thank you for.